Respect the game on three. 1, 2, 3, respect the game.
Welcome to ONV, Respect the Game Sports Podcast. We're going to get started right away. We're going to introduce some new people on our panel. How you doing, Shalante?
Yes, I'm Shalante. I'm doing good tonight. How about yourself?
I'm fine.
Yeah, it's nice to have you. Glad you joined us.
No problem.
Yeah.
I enjoy speaking in when I can.
Could you tell us a little about yourself, please?
So I'm an ex-college athlete. Went to school here in town in Indiana Tech. And I kind of give back to the environment by supporting sports teams like little AAU teams where I volunteer and help coach. And I also play basketball as well, so I have a little knowledge on that topic.
We're going to hit the court after this? We're going to hit the court?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Clarence. Nah. You ain't got enough Geritol. I just say you ain't got enough Geritol.
So we got a special guest today, Brother Mark Muhammad. We want to introduce him real quick.
Hello, everybody. I'm not a special guest. I'm just like everybody else.
We're glad to have you.
Welcome to the spot, man.
It's my privilege to be here, and thank you guys for inviting me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
One of the things I do is I have a company called Hideous Maximum, and when you abbreviate it, and it's on wordplay, He aids us to the maximum in reference to God.
Yes,
Amen.
sir. Yes, sir.
One of the things I do is we brand build with the athletes. We pursue NIL deals with the athletes. We do PR with the athletes. We do charitable events with the athletes. And training. So it's a combination of different things we do with college athletes.
So that's one of the topics that we've been discussing, the NIL. And I know that you got your own company, your own brand. Could you give us the pros and cons of the NIL?
Okay.
Your pros.
Yeah.
well, the pros to it is, first of all, it's fun. It takes watching sports to a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. It's like not only are you watching them, on TV or whatever, you know these people, you know their parents, you done broke bread with them, had deep conversations with them. So that's the pros to it. And we have a chance to build relationships because life is all about relationships and networking. Now the cons to it is you run this sports and it's about money.
Right. Right.
Yeah, there it is.
So you run into a whole bunch of shady people, and the cons to it, you don't know they're shady until
you in the deal.
You get further down the road with them and everything.
Tell us how to count the money.
Yeah.
You want to come with your best foot.
Right. Like my conversation with parents, like I'm speaking to a projected first rounder I'm about to sign. Mm-hmm. But I'm speaking to his parents. But my conversation is so basic, and one of the things I told them is, if you're looking for big words and you're looking for jazzy language that wow you, I ain't that guy.
Right. I feel you.
Right.
So we started laughing. They said, it's so plain.
Yeah.
That's good.
So when we talking about the parents, that's that we had a nice conversation about the parents' involvement. With your dealing with the NIL and the parents, and it's in a college level, not a high school level, because we was talking
Correct.
about in Indiana, you can't deal with high school until they go to college. Is that correct?
That's correct.
No, that's
I
crazy.
think California, you can.
Right.
Yeah, California, you can. But with them, they can't use the school, anything of the school logo.
Correct.
Nothing that deals with the school.
Wow.
You can have an NIL.
You have to have your own
Now, ain't that
logo.
funny? Like all these years, they're using the athlete's image.
Mm-hmm.
But now the athletes can get paid and the athletes can't
Use their image.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
And
real crazy.
a lot of other states are the same way.
It's a twist.
Right.
It's more like,
'Cause they still trying to get their cut somewhere. If they
Correct.
yeah. So it is in hindsight, it's like you could get an NIL deal in some of these in other states, but it's mainly like on an AAU level.
Don't that make it hard? Because most of the pictures and images and videos you got is in their uniform.
Is in their uniform.
So now you can't put yourself out there unless you blur it out.
Yeah.
So
you know what I do? I just put my image. I take theirs off and stick my logo on there.
Not
That's
while
smart.
you competing though.
Huh?
You can't do that while you
Not while they're competing, but in the NIL market, to use their image and name, image, and likeness, I can use my logo. Or like
you can put
Ayanna Patterson, I created a logo for her. We put her logo on her on the UConn uniform.
Okay.
Oh, you can do that.
Yeah.
So what happened to the Nike logo?
You can't use that either.
Because that's their brand.
But that's their brand, so it stays on the uniform as well.
I mean,
I don't know. I'm just
we can take it off. You can always Photoshop.
Yeah, you can do. Yeah.
Photoshop.
Gotcha.
you can Photoshop it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So we was talking about this 9-year-old getting this $100,000 contract. What is the eligibility? What do they lose? Do they lose any eligibility as amateurs?
Depending on what state they in.
Right.
Just like what he said. Yeah.
That's what my brother told me as well.
Yeah, it's depending on what's. But as this business, as an investor, you investing in that 9-year-old, right?
Right.
So that 9-year-old has all these years to develop before he might make the pro. It ain't no guarantee that you're going to make the pro.
Right, so, he's making a chance.
So they have to have a good marketing strategy around 9 and 10 years old so they can recoup that money
We were saying that
that they threw out, right?
what kind of thinking that they're gonna have for this 9-year-old? Is there gonna be any AAU? You only going to certain AAU? Because I heard that if Nike do the NIL for him, he can only go to Nike camps.
Yeah,
and no
right.
other ones.
Yeah.
That's all right. Even with the college athletes, if their school is Nike,
You have to go.
they can't be in Adidas can't offer them nothing. Under Armour can't offer them nothing.
That's how it was in high school in Arizona. Because I remember my brother couldn't wear. They were sponsored by Under Armour. So.
But with that, and where he's saying, is there an age limit or is there an age threshold? Like this 9-year-old, I think he's Baby Grunk. You've seen him on the internet.
I haven't seen.
Oh, you haven't seen him? It's a little 9-year-old. They call him Baby Grunt, and he has an NIL deal. And it's a young man, and I think he's about the same age. He out of Florida, and he's like he's under 12, so but he has an NIL deal. But what I wanted to know is, and I asked Mr. Ayers as being a coach, how is that going to change not only the amateur status but the amateur attitude? You got a 9-year-old making $100,000, and you got the parents, like they said, the parents. My child need to be in this spot to get this spotlight. How is that going to change the game and the amateur attitude?
In some aspects, it will change, but in some it won't, because now they're doing it above table.
Right.
In the past, they was doing it under the table.
Right.
So,
but what I'm saying is, like with the parents, it's not only that, but parents. My son is the next Jordan, no matter and how good or bad he plays. But you got him an NIL deal, like you say, the maturation or the maturity. You sign him at 9, but then you got to wait till he go through puberty. You got to wait till he reaches growth spurt. But he telling Mr. Ayers, he Mr. Ayers point guard or 2 guard. He telling, I'm shooting no matter what you running, because I got to get my name out there. I got to get my image out there. I mean, the mentality or the attitude. I mean, isn't that going to change the maturity or the attitude of the amateur?
It could. Like for instance, I have guys at the University of Alabama, right? And when this first jumped off, every one of those guys, whether they started or not, thought they was going to get a deal.
Right.
That's not happening. I have a projected first-round draft pick that plays on the O-line, right? He's not getting any deals. I got him the most deals thus far.
Outside of.
Yeah.
So the school's not going to get you the deal anyway.
No, in the school. Now, what they have now is called a collective in all the Power 5 schools. And the collective is a group of businessmen and boosters or whatever put together their resources to, like University of Tennessee. University of Tennessee done put together their resources where they can give so many players $30,000 each.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? So when it first jumped off, it was like the Wild West. No rules, not too many regulations, and everything. But now it's kind of like leveling out because a lot of people is not getting big deals. What you're talking about is an isolated
Right.
Individual.
getting these deals. So, and a lot of people, just like one of my guys from Georgia, he was promised a merch deal, making so much money. Well, he didn't make that money. Yeah.
So that's kind of like the Jaden Rashada thing where he was promised $13 million and then he got there. It kind of backfired on him.
Right. And with the 9-year-old, trust me, and you guys know this, if they're putting that money out, they have a marketing strategy before they even gave the guy his money. Just like the kid at Miami.
Is that the one that flipped?
He was I'm gonna tell you who used to coach him. Al Gooden was his high school coach. Then he went, I forget what college he was. Then he left that college and went to Miami. And I think Miami gave him $900,000 or whatever.
Wow.
But he's one of the better players in the nation, though. Yeah.
So we was talking about how that 9-year-old parents was going to dictate how we coach them. But, I thought about that. And my thing is, we got to teach the parents, as far as like the NIL, and he got to be good all around, not just one thing. And, they want him to shoot all the basketball. He got to learn how to play defense and everything else. He only 9 years old. He can't tell me he can't tell me to put him in.
And he hurting the team.
I mean, he can say whatever he want to say, but at the end of the day, the coach make the last.
Nah, he can't tell me nothing. He gonna sit his tail on over there and be like
and
everybody
then,
else.
what they'll do in that situation, they'll just find another coach.
That's literally.
That's what they
And that's what they do.
Ain't something wrong with that though? They got to get their best value at the end of the day.
I mean, you got to get your best value, but let's think about it. If no matter how good he is, if he's not disciplined, he's a cancer to any team. Period.
And you're 100% correct, but you got to remember, in this capitalistic society, the marketing strategy, they don't care about his development. They just care about the here and now.
The here and now.
ROI.
Return
of investment.
Yeah, they want to return their investments, but I put it like this: as a parent, I would want my child to still understand the discipline of the game. Period. Whatever game sport you're playing, you got to understand there's a higher up. Here's a coach. There's assistant coach.
That's how you think as a parent.
I mean, because I was an athlete, so I had to understand it. Even to be a coach, I have to understand one thing as a parent. You got to listen to to the coach. But I don't care how good you are, you have to listen to him.
I got a flip side of that. I'm a single mother. I don't know nothing about sports. I just know my kid got this money coming.
That's exactly.
That's all I care about. This is my bread and butter. This NIL deal. You need to play my son.
It's gonna help us out.
Yeah. You need to play my son.
Now, how do you teach that?
Oh, got a question. Got a corner. Okay, here's the funny part about this. Now let's look at it on a realistic standpoint. Yes, that's the money that's coming into the house. So I get 100,000. Well, my child getting 100,000. So that's all my child is getting is 100,000. So how do you break that down as far as how I'm gonna live, how I'm gonna do what I need to do and take care of my child? So if you're not disciplined enough on the court, how you gonna be disciplined enough with $100,000 as a parent?
Yeah, they're not gonna cut it up front.
They're not gonna get it up front, but still.
I want to ask Mr. Muhammad because he said this, and I know you're gonna answer this question. Is there a cap? Is there a cap that anybody can get in an NIL?
I don't think there's no cap.
What about the younger athletes?
I don't. Like I said, it depending on what state they're in.
Right. Okay. So we was also looking at what about them getting an agent or somebody to help them understand the proper way of doing things.
Now the pros and cons is that because I done dealt with that. I done dealt with and when I talk to my athletes, this happened when I very first started. I went to Alabama. I signed for the Alabama players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm gonna tell
When
you,
you say you sign, are you considered an agent?
no,
Oh.
I'm not an agent. I just got a brand in the NIL.
Okay.
So when I sign them to my brand, and they're considered ambassadors
Okay.
to rep my brand. So I'm gonna tell you who was the athletic director at Alabama was. She from here. I hope she don't see this.
It's too late for that.
She's at Purdue. Her mother used to work for Fort Wayne Community Schools. I think her name was Johnny.
See, you know.
Yeah.
Mr. Ayers know everybody in sports.
Yeah, we come to sports, you know
But
everybody.
anyways, she educated me to how to approach the guys, the do's and the don'ts. And even before I can sign them, I had to send my contract in to the University of Alabama and to the compliance, and
To
they
get
had
approval.
to approve it, you know. So, but what I did was
Protect yourself pretty much.
right, and really protect the athletes, because they don't, they got to be eligible. So when I signed these athletes, then one morning I got a call. It was from Miami, Florida. And I'm like, if I don't recognize the call, I ain't picking it up. So either a salesperson or somebody want me to pay something.
Right, right. I feel you.
But so they called again, like within 15 minutes. So I said, let me answer. I was getting ready. And it was Drew Rosenhaus,
The agent.
the agent. Yeah. And I was like, he was like, man, I speak to Mark Muhammad. I said, this Mark Muhammad. Then we was talking about a mutual client and stuff, right? But see, I had beat him to the punch. I had signed him before he signed them.
Right.
Now he signed them as an NIL representative, but I signed him as an ambassador. Now, if he would have beat me to the punch, right, then he would have tried to get me for some money.
Right.
Right. So the pros and cons to that is you got agents, and not all agents really is there for the athletes. Some agents, take for instance, if you two were agents, and this is for some people that represents clients too. So some agents might say, let's say you got a better deal than he has. Some agent and some individual will say, hey, to speak to the person, pay me $2,500.
Yeah.
Or pay me $5,000. These real conversations that they done had with me, but it didn't last too long. But just to speak to them. Ain't no guarantee that they're gonna work with you or whatever. Now, say if you don't have the money, but you got a better deal than he has, but he has the money. He gets to speak to him and you don't. So the athlete don't really benefit from that. And the thing that I seen, and I speak about it all the time, most of these guys, I don't know about the women, I'm just talking about the guys. Most of these guys get a contract, whether it's NIL, whether it's an NBA contract, whether it's a NFL contract. They don't understand what's in that contract.
Oh, preach that.
They don't, even when the representative,
because they don't read it themselves.
Right.
Yeah, and
that's where the agent comes in at.
Well, the agent, if I'm an agent and you're the NFL, me and you probably already got a relationship.
Right.
You see, I done been around Eugene and Rose and and heard ear hustling.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Right.
And not saying Eugene or Rose, because matter of fact, Eugene Parker is one of the most upstanding individuals that really impressed me, as far as what he achieved in his humbleness and stuff. I was at the Combine one time when I was representing Tracy Porter. I'm the one who signed Tracy Porter to Eugene and them, and around a group of agents and stuff, and I was talking to one agent, and he mentioned Eugene Parker, and everybody got quiet. That commercial when E.F. Hutton talked, people listen, and I'm looking around, I'm like, Eugene got a big impact. Yeah.
So when should the NIL start and end? Is there such thing as a start and end, or is that just depend on the client itself?
It depends on the client and the situation, really.
Okay.
The con to it is like what we said is most parents come from poverty or are struggling.
Right.
So you flash money in front of them, they might take the first deal or a bad deal.
Right.
You know? So the parent really has to be schooled
Exactly.
to what the NIL is, how it operate, what'll benefit them and what won't benefit them. You know.
So how do we get that? How do we get that in the mix of everything? That's the
like,
teaching.
Is there programs out there? Is it like sites and places that they can go to get this information?
The best way they can get it, I think, right now is, through agents, through good people, through sharing like forums like this where you're talking about it, sharing experiences and just coming up with a lot of questions. That's one of the things that we're getting into is the advisor mode of it. We got two situations where the parents are coming to us because we know the questions to ask. We know how to vet out good agents and bad agents, good financial people, bad financial people. It's trust me, it's a lot of crooked stuff goes on.
Right.
Now I got a question for you. Now, is all kids eligible for the NIL, or what makes you not eligible for the
Depending on what state you in.
NIL? Okay.
It always go back
To your state?
To the state.
Because, I mean, even on the college level, right?
On the college level,
It's anywhere.
if they in college, it's anybody.
Oh,
Okay.
So you don't need a certain GPA or nothing like
No.
that? Oh, okay.
I had a question. What does the school or what does a particular school, do they get anything out of an NIL deal?
No, they got to be totally separate.
Oh,
That's
really?
nothing written in the bylaws.
Yeah, that's the NCAA rule. They can't help, they can't aid a client, and not, it goes on. But on paper, they can't do that.
So is there any way that they could lose eligibility? As far as like getting I'm talking about high schoolers now. Is there where they could lose a amateur status?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think they changed that rule as far as when it comes to NIL. Like he said, the states got their own particular laws. So if your state allows you to get money in the high school state, then you can't lose your amateur status based off your state law.
Right.
You can't lose your amateur status.
So your brother is in Oregon, is that correct?
Yes, so he's going to Oregon.
Right.
But I spoke to him about the whole situation. He's aware of some of the things, but he's not certain when or when not he would need an agent or in situations like that.
We'll see, in Michigan, and I read this on a what's name, Michigan, California, and a couple other states. If you in high school, if you get an agent, your eligibility
because they consider you professional.
Now
Are we talking about NIL or are we talking about agents?
No, if you get an NIL deal and you get an agent.
Well, if you don't get an agent.
If you don't get an agent, you're fine because what they say is you can't have a professional representative.
That's fine. Okay.
So once you get that professional representative, your eligibility is out the window.
So when you talk to your brother about the NIL, we done talked about this, we done talked it up, and you done got you some new researches and understanding more. How did he feel about not knowing the answer to the questions that you was asking?
I feel like he got the general idea of like what's acceptable. He pretty much said that he was filling it out. He said, I'm gonna fill out, like I can't tell if someone's shady or like you can't read people like that. He was like, but I'm gonna go with the college. I'm not picking based off NIL deals or what the college is selling me. Like he just said that the college had no parts in that. He was like, I'm honestly gonna take what they give me, but this is a good fit. The environment felt loved. I felt warmed here. And he said it's trial and error. That's the reason why they got these transfer portals. If it's not the fit for you, he got that opportunity to jump in and get into something else.
So he can leave at any time.
That's pretty much any college athlete right now.
What sport your
He
brother?
plays football.
Football?
Yep.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
But and I got a question with that, Mr. Muhammad, because you said the school doesn't have anything to do with it. But it was a young man, and I don't know if he switched from Florida. He committed to Florida, then he switched to Miami, or vice versa. But when he did that, that messed up his NIL deal, and it was something that was tied to the school. When he was a commit, and I wish I knew his name, but
Is that the Jaden Rashada dude?
it wasn't him. He was
Yeah,
I'm wondering, was it because most schools have once again called a collective, and the collective is tied to the school.
okay.
Yeah, so
so
if
once
the
he signed. He got
if the collective offered him an NIL deal, that school, and he left that school, then
They break ties.
you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, but that fell through. Can't you leave at that moment? If you said y'all was promising me this amount, and now y'all saying y'all can't pay out that amount, y'all can do something else. Well, that's not what I signed for. Do I got the opportunity to leave that school at that moment?
I mean, you can leave, but I mean, if you really think about the NIL deal, really don't have nothing to do with
You
signing with the
Okay.
school. Yeah.
And you playing.
Yeah, and you playing.
But quick
That's
question.
two
I
different
got a quick-
contracts.
Go ahead.
I got a quick question. Now, with this NIL deal, and some of these athletes are making major money as an NIL deal, is it almost like to the point where they try to force kids to come to college instead of okay, I'm gonna declare on to the next level, skip college and declare to the next level? Because if you think about it, if I don't care if I do get a major NIL deal, being that I play for IU, and I'm the man on IU. IU's gonna still bank so much money off of me versus me having a $5 million NIL deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So would that is that the main part of the NIL deal? Let's get these kids into college and get them signed to an NIL deal and make the school so much more money because this particular kid is at this school.
Under the table, yeah. They, if they can pay them what they wanted to pay them to persuade them to go to their school, yeah. And really, that's what's happening on the college football level, and that's why you're going to see in the years to come that the talent level is not going to just be
at one spot.
In
It's
the
gonna spread
Alabama or
out.
Georgia, it's going to
It's
spread
gonna
out.
spread all over
Yeah.
the place. Yeah.
Because I would say me as a
I mean, we can have all 5-star recruits, but if the coach ain't good and the staff ain't good, then we ain't gonna be good. I feel like.
Well, you're going to be kind of good.
you're gonna be somewhere good because honestly, if you
no,
think
ain't gonna
about
get the
it,
ring, but that's entertainment.
I mean, if you think about it as a college student, say I get a major NIL deal. Guess what? I ain't gotta go to the pros. I ain't got $10 million.
You got enough money to start up your own business.
Yes,
Do what you want.
do what I get my degree and go about my business.
like the Ohio State quarterback,
Yeah.
even though he going to pros,
Yeah.
but he was banking. He was banking.
I have a quick question about, and because of your angle, what's the difference between NIL and branding?
Well, I think
That's
the
a good
branding part plays big in the NIL part because NIL is about name, image, and likeness.
Right.
That's your branding part.
Right.
That's the bigger your name, the more people know you or like you, the more opportunities may be presented to you. So branding, it feeds into it, and that's kind of what we do. We kind of like we do this golf outing. This would be our second year at Alabama 1 Credit Union. And I brought the guys in, had 4 guys come in, and I told them, like, if you want deals, people got to know you. They got to know you more than just what you do on the field.
Right.
They got to like you as a person off the field. So they brought into that. I don't know how, but I was talking that
Right.
but they brought into that, and it really worked out. And now we're going into the second year. But the branding part is to me is so important, not just for the NIL. That branding part is so important. So even after the college years, because when the pros look at you, they don't just look at what you do on the court. They look at what you're doing in the community,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad. Now, if it's bad,
Yeah. So this is what we're talking about. We're going to continue this conversation, but right now we need to wrap this up.
Okay.
And we're going to have E get us on out of here.
And like we always say, protect your mind.
Respect the game on 3. 1, 2, 3, respect the game.